From mastering the art of saving to harnessing the power of investments, we cover it all. But it's not just about the money. It's about cultivating a millionaire mindset that propels you towards success in every aspect of your life. Join our community of ambitious go-getters and discover the secrets to becoming a millionaire by morning. Subscribe now to Millionaire by Morning on your favorite podcast platform. And let's make your financial dreams a reality. Millionaire by Morning, where money mindset, motivation, and mastery meet. Subscribe today and unlock your path to prosperity.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Millionaire by Morning podcast. We have a guest with us today who is going to speak with us on topics that we know and love, such as serial entrepreneurship, experience across family business, having a tech startup, and working with large corporate and franchisees. Also, small businesses. I want to welcome a special guest to our show today. This is going to be very interesting. We have Adi Mehta with us this evening. Welcome to the show today, Adi.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on, man. I always like speaking with entrepreneurs. I really truly like speaking with people. I don't want to call it that has came from, that has the real rags to riches story. But it's always interesting speaking with someone who isn't just coming from, the best of circumstances, the silver spoon fed, went straight into the top echelon of society, but worked their way through it. And, you yourself, you have a story to tell. Not only are you telling your own story, you are bringing people like you and of your essence into the realm. You're telling their story as well with your own podcast. And I think that's awesome, man, because that's what the world needs at this time.
Yeah.
So if you could, can you give us a little background on you, yourself, and how it all started, the whole entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah.
Take us.
So I come from Mumbai, India, and I wish it was a rags to riches, but it's kind of a cotton to linen story because my family had a business right from when I was growing up. I come from a community called the Gujaratis from western part of India, and we're very good at business, and we're very a risk-taking population. And you'll find Gujaratis all over the world doing motel business in the US, for example, or just having shops and trading companies all over the world. So I grew up as a child in that environment. My very first business was when I was 6 years old. I had a flower pot painting business. I would paint flower pots for 10 and 20 rupees, which is probably less than $1 even at the time. I went to school in the US for my undergrad. I'm a proud Texas Longhorn. And then I went back to do family business in India for a good 7 years. Transitioned eventually to tech startups, had several tech startups of my own because I wanted to do something very different from there. And then I took some time to study, ended up at Amazon, like a lot of people do in the Seattle area where I am currently. And then corporate wasn't really cut out for me, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons there. So I went back to what we call boring businesses by buying a franchise for a property management company. And it's a small business, and but also a framework, a franchise framework. So it has that advantages, and that's what I've been doing for the past couple of years now. So that's last 20 years in a nutshell.
That's the last 20 years. Let me ask you this, and I'm going to touch back on this.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I forget, I want you to bring it back. But
Okay.
you said corporate just wasn't for you.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that mindset frame, but I want first and foremost, looking into your background, beginning from just India, and not only India, but once you got into the States, you have moved around a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah.
Can you give us, for people who are stagnant, for people who don't, I guess, believe that that is a part of success, not being tied down to a lot of people because it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit of that mindset? What type of mindset do you need to have to be able to uproot yourself from
Yeah.
one place based on success, based on you know that you want more in life? What type of mindset would
Yeah.
you say you need to have in order to do that?
Yeah, it starts with just travel as a tourist. You see different countries. You've your mind gets expanded, and you see how people live in different parts of the world, how the lifestyle is in different part of the world. In India, I had a very high standard of living because my family had an established business, but I didn't have quality of life, and I didn't even know what quality of life was until I went out and looked abroad, and I said, "Oh, your city doesn't have to have 30 million people in it. You don't have to live in a crowded place in a skyscraper. You can have like land of your own." And um, the real like wish to live abroad is because I studied in Texas. So I at a younger age I picked up a lot of American values and way of life. And then when I had to move back to India for this was during the 2008 recession, there were really no jobs here for foreigners. So I moved back, but like it was like a bad breakup. I didn't have closure, and I always wanted to come back to this part of the world. Eventually, I made it back here with a lot more travel in between to Vancouver, BC, and I was chasing that same quality of life. And you asked about what it takes to uproot yourself like that from an established family business setting to Vancouver, BC, where I had been once for one day, and my wife had never even been to Canada, and we didn't know anybody. It's a very fine line between bravery and stupidity, and I was walking right on that tightrope. And my self confidence was high that I would find a way, because I had been given so much training and so much education, and I was already familiar with this way of life. So I wasn't like an immigrant coming with, I don't know how to drive on this side of the road, or I had already had a precursor in Texas. And sure, it did take a bit of readjustment because I had lived before as a student, but now I was coming back as a married couple with my wife. That took some bit of adjustment, but uh, you do have to be prepared to lose 2 to 3 years in your career, or whatever it is that you do if you come by yourself. My move to Seattle was much easier because I came as an Amazon employee, and they moved me over. Somebody came and packed all my stuff, and we drove over, and that was it. So it's always easier to move countries or cities as an employee of a company. uh, but other than that, it's just a drive to make it there, and you'll find something better than what you have back home. And at the same time, while making sure that you don't have an ego, you got to sweep the floors if you need to. Thankfully, I didn't need to, but you have to be open to everything. You have to understand that the onus is on you as the new immigrant to go out there, put yourself out there, and meet new people. They have no reason to meet you. The people who live there already. When I lived in India, I didn't reach out to new immigrants and ask them, hey, new immigrant, how can I help you? So why should I expect anyone that to do that for me when I'm a new immigrant? So a mix of these different things that I just described is probably what made me uproot myself and also plant roots very quickly, both in Vancouver and now in Seattle.
Awesome. That's man. If I'm understanding what you're saying, it's the self confidence, it's the ego that you need to deal with, and it's also what well, if you don't want to be sweeping floors, you need to be very well trained in something or the other.
Yeah.
And it's also what we talk on this show a lot about is marketing, whether it be your job, your skills, or yourself. So if I may ask you that, Adi, how did you market yourself or your skills so you would end up in a position that you wanted to be in
Yeah.
and considered for?
Um, so I take a lot of effort in being well read about the place I'm in. Um, I make a lot of effort to spend time with the local population. As an Indian person, the natural tendency is to go live in the Indian area because you have a source of comfort. You have people who are like you. But then their shared experience becomes your shared experience, and everybody is in the same struggling boat together. So we didn't move to the Indian part of town. We moved to downtown Vancouver, and it was more expensive than what we could afford. But instead of saying, "I have $1,000, let me see what I can find in 1,000, even if it's far away," we said downtown is 1,400, let's find a way to earn that extra 400. But we want to be in the place where all the action is, where all the locals are, because then you're actually interacting with people of that country and the culture of that country and the experience of that country, versus just being with everyone who looks like you. I could have done that in India. And there's nothing wrong in seeking comfort within your community, but that can't be your baseline when you come to a new country. And then when we market ourselves, when we meet all of these people, we would ask for meetings all the time. And where I'm in this part of the world, like Pacific Northwest and British Columbia, it's called like the Seattle freeze and the Vancouver chill. Like, people are not friendly. But when I reached out to people and said, "Hey, I'm a new immigrant, I would just love to learn from you," people were more than willing to help me. And that's why I said early on that the onus is on you. um, and we would talk about how we have global experience. I had finance experience from the stock market. I had text experience. I would always talk about how can I help you with my global network and my global experience. It was never about, "Hey, can you help me get this job?" or "Can you help me, like, build my resume?" It was always about, "I'm this new immigrant who's arrived here, ready to contribute to society, and how can I help you?" And it's amazing how quickly that went into, like, "Oh, don't worry about it, you're new, let me help you and get you settled, and then we'll talk about how you can help me." And our network, I think my wife got pregnant the first year, and we had a baby shower, and we had 70 people in the baby shower. And these are
Uh-huh.
people who were, like, who've been there for 15 years. And they would ask us, "Man, how do you know so many people in such a short time?" I was like, "These are just the ones I like enough to invite to the baby shower. I know way more people than this." And so that really helped, when we focused on marketing ourselves and our skills, but more on what we could give versus what we could receive.
That is so awesome, man. That fits the terminology of I listen to a guy so much that I call him my mentor. His name is um, David Meltzer, and one thing that he say is be more interested than interesting.
Sure.
So ask others, how can you service?
Yeah,
How
and
can you be of service?
everyone loves talking about themselves. So you ask an open-ended question and off they go. And if you're listening actively, you'll say, "Oh, you said you did this," and then you'll find common ground. Or you'll hear a problem that they're facing, and then you'll suggest a solution. And then it's off to the races from there.
That's right. I totally agree. With that, that's a perfect segue into your podcast.
Yeah.
You do a podcast, you have a radio show, and you speak with people that are coming from the same background, have the same or similar to the same story. And you can be more interested than interesting. I've learned that myself. I love my podcast. I get to speak with people about their business, about their journey. If they do have a pain point, we can speak about it. If I can help them, we can, we can make amends or we can move forward or leave it alone, whatever, right then and there.
Right.
But it's a perfect way to get to know people and meet people all across globally. Like podcast is just the quickest, fastest way that you can meet people in a global sense and speak to them about their issues and what they're interested in. So tell us a little bit. Let's get into your podcast, and
Yeah.
I'll basically let it know. I watched a few episodes, but if you were to speak to someone, my audience, and let them know what your podcast is
Yeah.
about, and kind of sell it, how would you do that?
Yeah, the podcast is called Diaspora. with an extra A at the end, so I could get the website domain name. Diaspora, for those who don't know, means the population of a country that lives outside the country. So I'm part of the Indian diaspora. Um, I've always wanted to um, leave something behind that will exist in permanency after I'm gone. And this was a great way to do it. But I also feel this time especially is one for the local American audience or the Canadian audience to show that immigrants are not that different from uh, the local population. A lot of us have the same aspirations and same challenges, and like I talk smack about college football on my podcast, which is about the Indian American culture. So, if Indian person can talk smack about college football, how much different am I really? And I talk about barbecues and boats and baseball. So um, that's one thing. But I also wanted to show my local Indian audience, and especially this part of the country, it very heavily tends to be focused on the tech world. Everyone's working for Amazon and Microsoft, and they're software developers, product managers. That Indians do lots of different things, and Indians can have lots of different careers. And I mean, Indian more than Indian is South Asian, but uh, the we've had mostly Indian guests until now. So it serves to show locals that we're not all that apart. It serves to show people from my community that there's a lot more to life than tech, and hopefully all this will be valued by someone down the line after I'm gone, and that's how this podcast came about.
I I like that, man. It's so true. Um, Hopefully YouTube lives on, right? Like we never can tell the future, but if this internet continues to live on, if it's pretty much history for the future generation to watch podcasts, to
Yeah,
watch YouTube videos, you are 100% correct, because I know it, because that's the way that I approach this entire my podcasting journey is, what if one of my grandchildren were to sit down and watch each episode?
yeah,
They would have a clear vision on what success is, how to get there, how to take the journey.
yeah,
I may not ever talk to them about it,
yeah,
but just like someone could read books of, an author back in the day,
yeah,
hopefully this YouTube thing will stay around. All of these episodes will continue, and like you, they know your journey, the diaspora. They know people who look like them. They know their journey. I think
yeah.
that's an awesome thing, man. And I
Thank you.
totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
What does everything that you've done in the last 20 years, you've done a lot, right? You've done a lot as far as business is concerned. You've created. What does the future hold? Is there and we can speak about a short-term goal, or we can speak about a goal that's way off, and big exit, or your big hairy goal, whatever it may be. So what does the future look like?
Yeah. So assuming I don't get bored of property management, and I've been doing it for a couple of years. It's been great so far. I want to continue scaling this business. I've had significant growth in my market. I'm the newest, but also the largest franchise of PMI, that it's Property Management Incorporated. um, I would like to keep growing that, but also move into more sophisticated aspects of real estate, like fund management, or short-term rentals, or even development of real estate. There's a massive housing shortage in this country. There's going to be demand for housing. There's going to be demand for good properties and property managers, and people who can buy all those assets and rent them out, and do whatever with them. So it's a relatively recession-proof industry, and my wife is doing something very complementary, also in a recession proof industry, which is pharmaceuticals. So our goal is to just keep building our businesses. This country has a unique attribute where even if you live for 20 25 years, it's hard to become a citizen. So I have to have backups. And uh, my wife and I combined, our goal is to have presence in multiple countries and multiple industries, so that we can continue to thrive and not be worried about displacement or earning money from here, earning money from there, and just spreading our risks, so that we can continue to grow as a family and create generational wealth.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Um, Man, being across multiple countries with multiple businesses, that is a goal. That is a goal to reach for. Um, so right now, I guess I should have started with this. Right now, you are in the real estate industry or the real estate sector.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go into that a little bit. Let's speak into what you are currently doing and what your current offer is and your current business model is.
Yeah. So, I've got the family business side of things. I've got the tech startup experience. I've got the corporate experience. So I wanted to do something that was conventional small business, but which would also fit in line with goals I had for my life and my lifestyle. One was obviously that something that can support an investor visa to move or remain in the US after Amazon. I wanted stable income. I wanted an industry with a relatively low bar. Nobody likes their property manager, um, and also something that had reasonable amount of capital, was relatively AI proof. Like AI is not going to completely replace what you do; it may augment what you do, and industries where the tech savviness would have a big advantage. And I did a top down analysis, and property management fit all of those boxes. And then I just bought the franchise, and what I do is help owners of residential properties manage their property and never have to worry about the property. So we get it ready for rent. We market the property. We find great tenants. We move them in. We make sure they have a great onboarding experience, and we're very responsive with any maintenance that they need to be done, while also protecting the long-term health of the property, and then just rinse and repeat that cycle when the tenant moves out. So we're managing about, I'm going to say, just under $75 million in assets at this point, all across the greater Seattle area. And any kind of residence, from a tiny studio all the way to like a huge mansion, we can manage with no problem at all.
Okay, okay, you said something, and I commend you on that. I commend you on finding something that's like recession proof
Yeah.
without being threatened by AI as well. You really dug in and figured it out. But you said something about the housing market in your last statement, and I wanted to know, and this is based off of your research. And I live in Texas. I'm in Texas, and there is literally no more land left. Like they're building, 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 and I'm not sure if it's
Yeah.
because people are leaving other states and moving to Texas or whatever the case may be. But you were saying that there's a housing shortage,
Yeah.
and I guess I'm failing to see that because
Yep.
everywhere I go, there's apartments going up, there's houses going up,
Yes.
there's buildings going up, and stores.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, and I'm pretty sure, way more researched than I am. Is there something that I'm missing and that the average person is missing about it being a housing shortage at the moment
Yeah.
in time?
Um, so real estate is inherently a very local expertise based industry. I know that cities like Austin are seeing rents falling because of the huge increase in supply that there is. Texas permitting might work very differently than Washington state permitting. It takes forever to get a permit to build anything in Seattle, and they're super slow in the process for many reasons. Some are in their control, some are not, but there's no supply. And at the same time, companies like Amazon are forcing everybody to return to work. And what happens then is that you sell your $500,000 mansion in Houston, and then you move to Seattle and it buys you not even a condo. And then you're like, what am I supposed to do? I'm going to have to rent. Where's all the apartments? Well, there are none because they're all waiting for permits. So in a it's in this part of the country, there's a massive housing shortage. There's and it could also be the right kind of housing, right? Like it could, there's a demand for condos, but there's all you can see are like single family homes, or vice versa. um, and Texas is at the other extreme in terms of how quickly the inventory is being added, and Seattle is at the other extreme. So so we're at the opposite ends of the spectrum. So in Texas, I agree, there's not like a shortage the way, you know we're everyone's crying over here.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's the total separate end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
But I get it. I see how it measures out eventually.
yeah.
One question I have to ask: are you disappointed in Manning as quarterback over at Texas?
Man, he's walked in with the legacy on his shoulders. And
Yeah.
his first game was with Ohio State this season, who are the reigning national champions, who are the ones who ended our season last year. And this game is at Ohio State. And we held them to, I think it was like 7-14, right? And we lost. It's a lot of pressure on a young man very early on. Lost Florida against Florida, sure, it's fine. And the third loss has come against Georgia. So, he's you gotta give the guy a break. As a Texas
Right.
fan, I'm used to waiting 20 years between any kind of performance whatsoever. As a cricket fan, I'm used to waiting 20 years between India winning the World Cup. As a
Right.
Mariners fan in Seattle, they've never been to the World Series. So me personally, I'm gonna give the guy a couple of years to get his heels in. He's got the talent, and the coaching is great. It's one of the great football programs of the NCAA. So there's a lot going for him, and I'm sure he'll do fine. And if he doesn't, then God has something else in store for him.
There you go. There you go. It was a lot of pressure. Pressure bust pipes. They put him
Yep.
at number one.
Yep.
They put him at number one. So yeah, that was a lot of pressure to begin the season.
What bothers me more is that while this is happening, Texas A&M is at number 3. That's what
Yeah.
bothers me more.
Yeah. That's no one seen that coming. No one seen that coming. Yeah, man. So anyone that wants to follow you, what can you give us your website name, LinkedIn, um,
Yeah.
and any other way that you may want them to follow you?
You can look for the Diaspora podcast. It's Diaspora with the extra A. If you don't put that in, it's another podcast about the Jewish diaspora. So it's same but different, I guess. That's where you can find me. And my business is called PMI Arca. PMI being Property Management Incorporated. Arca is a word from one of the Indian languages that means ray of light, and that's spelled ARKA. So that's PMIARKA.com. That's for my property management side of the business. And my own website, where which can take you everywhere, is adityamehta.com. My dad had the foresight to block my domain name, and it's a reasonably common Indian name, but he blocked it when internet came to India in the early 2000s, and I'm still benefiting from having my own name as a domain name.
That's good. That's good, man. Jumping on top of it. That's what you have to do. Anybody that's out there listening, we're talking about journeys. We want to speak about mindsets. Man, this is so awesome. Now, we are in a new era. We're reaching artificial intelligence. Things are changing with crypto and the Bitcoin, and now is the time to kind of find your mark if you want to be affected by these things, or you don't. And as far as having a startup, as far as finding a new business to be in and sticking your stake in the ground, it's a perfect time to do just that if you don't want to be affected or you will be affected. So we speak with people every day, Monday through Thursday on the Millionaire by Morning podcast, just like Adi. We appreciate him for coming on because he gives us game, jewels, gems, and ways to avoid being broke. So we want to thank you again for coming on, man, and speaking with us, speaking with my audience, and for everyone out there, go look up his website, follow him. It's always good to follow someone that is full of knowledge and continue to make moves, make more money, and make meaningful memories. And we will talk to you on the next one.